If you're building your ABA company and you're tired of guessing, this is for you. We built the BCBA blueprint to give you real structure, systems, and support without the fluff. Details are in the description.
We rarely do product demos on this platform. It's not really what we're for, right? What we do is anything to help an ABA owner better develop their business for better success, less stress, more profit, because that profit's what fuels your mission, enabling you to run your business in a way that a big private equity company or a big box company would do it, with that clinic-based ownership, that clinic-focused ownership, right? We need these strengths in our small businesses in order to compete with the big ones. So that's what this is all about. When we see a product like TheraDriver, in 2024, we made 30,000 phone calls just with our ABA Impact team to ABA owners. Of those 30,000 phone calls, about 1,200 of them ended up working with us on our orientation calls, which is just digging into the problems that ABA owners have. Scheduling is one of the big ones, and it's always a problem for anybody dealing with cancellations. How do we pay our employees? How do we generate revenue? How do we maintain stability and consistency through our business? And we put these systems together and we do the best we can. But when you find a tool that will take a large amount of this work and this functionality off of your plate, it's important, number one, that you know about it. Number two, that you take proper advantage. A tool like TheraDriver, and I'm talking about the scheduling, they do training, they do the treatment plans, they do all kinds of cool stuff. But even if it's just for the scheduling, this is such a huge problem that gets solved. They integrate with all your platforms, even Central Reach, all those platforms that you guys are using out there. This is a great tool to plug in. I've never talked to somebody who started with TheraDriver and was like, yeah, that was a waste of time. This is a key move in your organizational strategy to take this whole process and simplify it for yourself. This is a great augmentation for any business. So that's why we're doing this product demo, because this is such a useful tool. And I've had multiple ABA owners that tell me like this changed everything. So that's why we've invited them. We actually reached out to them to come on and do this demo with us. Crystal, welcome. Look forward to learning here.
Thank you so much for that nice introduction, Derek. So my name's Crystal Ciszek Jung. I've worked with a lot of pediatric patients when you come up with funny ways to remember your name. I've been in ABA for over the past 15 years, was formerly a director of operations for a national organization that did a lot of site evaluation, expansion strategies, et cetera. And about 4 years ago, I realized that technology was limiting my ability to do that job and to do that job well. So here at TheraDriver, we're a full-blown operating system that really helps providers narrow down that time that it takes to schedule. 3 things that we produce as outcomes with our Northern Star of never canceling on a kiddo is increased prescription fulfillment of your client authorizations, as well as increased utilization of your staff availability. We know churn is an issue in the field. We know people are coming to us looking for part-time work with specific availability. And TheraDriver marries that clinical and operational mindset. So today I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to hop into our solution. Hopefully everybody can see it. When we log into the TheraDriver solution, our first tab is this appointment overview lens. This is your 10,000 square foot zoom out of your facility. On the left-hand side, we can see our clients and their hours scheduled for the day and hours that they have scheduled for the week. We can call out like home visits versus in-center visits. We can also see supervision that's taking place and direct treatment. You can come in and filter by client. So if we just wanted to look at Albus's schedule, or if we wanted to look at Bob's. And we can also come in here and look at the inverse of our staff as well. We have really great break logic built into the solution for those organizations that offer full-time employment. California, Colorado, and other various states like Oregon have very specific work regulations. So we can see some notifications on people who qualify for those break times. In the background, you can see the availability of that staff member, and we can also see that we've got lunch breaks and drive times all added within the solution. What I would love to model for you guys today is our cancellation workflow. So we can see here we've got some red appointments that need to be swapped. Our system wants to never cancel on a kiddo. So we can see that Ryan Reynolds is unavailable for this appointment with Ari, and the system is prompting us to swap that technician. What does that mean? As we know, clinically, we oftentimes think to ourselves, like, I need somebody who is a female because it's a home-based session. I need somebody who speaks Spanish because the primary caregiver in that home is Spanish speaking. I need somebody with a specific certification like crisis training or a registered behavior technician. And then on top of all of that clinical quality, we also need to ensure that we have somebody that meets those payer requirements. So what we're looking at right here in the system is this idea of a hard constraint versus a soft constraint. A hard constraint is a non-negotiable. We need an RBT, we need a female, we need Spanish speaking on this team, and we need somebody crisis certified. So when you see the hard constraints in here, the system is filtering out anybody that does not meet those two hard constraints. And then we have this idea of soft constraints, which is really your good, better, best clinical matching. So we can see that we have somebody that's on the North Shore that does engage in some needs for crisis management. We also have the fact that they use PECs and the kiddo's nonverbal. And you can see right here, we've got some opportunities for some coverage. But what I really love is if there is no Bob Ross scenario, happy little accidents, happy trees, happy clouds, and we can't get that one-to-one coverage, the system will prompt you into the next most intrusive strategy, which we're doing all the time as ABA providers, which is called the multi-swap. If Eilish takes Crystal's client, Crystal can take Keenan's client, and then we keep those session notes whole. And instead of splitting up those sessions, getting multiple documentations, we can see right here that there's a beautiful multi-swap strategy. We can take Chili, put them on Ryan's caseload, take Jerry, put Jerry on Chili's caseload, and everybody gets coverage and those session notes remain whole. So as we know in ABA scheduling, it's not always Bob Ross, happy little accidents. There isn't that one-to-one direct coverage. You might need to do a multi-swap. And the system and the AI prompts you through who can take the whole session. If there's nobody, who can take it and can you shuffle people around, play that morning Tetris? And then the system will go into the next prompt, which is, do we need a BCBA to come in and cover for 30-minute lunch break? The system will do as minimal direct treatment for that 97153 code for your BCBAs. And should a BCBA not be available to cover, what the system will then do as the least next and final step in this 4-step cancellation workflow is, do we need to do group therapy? Do they have social dyad goals? Do we need to pull them into a 2-on-1 and play a game with another therapist? So one-to-one coverage, multi-swap. Do we need a BCBA to support us? And lastly, do we need that group therapy? And the system will prompt you through all of those decisions automatically through that 4-step cancellation workflow. A lot of times people say, like, how does everybody get notified? Considering TheraDriver is considered your operating system, that's going to push these scheduling updates into your Rethink instance, your Central Reach, your Aloha instance. What we really love about our TheraDriver solution is our customizable notification settings. If a parent's late, technician's late, a client has canceled, new billable sessions are created, your reoccurring schedule has changed, or hey, we just swapped a technician and had a happy little accident. We can see all of these different messages that can go out. And just like when we were younger, those choose your own journey books, hey, choose to flip to page 7 if you want that experience, or flip to page 15. You can toggle these on or off. Do you want to notify the client if a technician's late? If a client has canceled, are you going to try to restaff that availability? If so, you might not want to fire off that technician notification and have a safeguard about 1 hour before that session takes place. If you haven't restaffed that individual onto another caseload, we might want to have that text message go ahead and fire off. A lot of people ask me, what do those messages look like? So hopefully everybody can see this, but if a client's canceled, and what kind of message do we want to send the technician? Hey, tech, unfortunately, this client has canceled their session on this date between this time and this time. If this is your first session of the day, please reach out to your ops and clinical team. These messages that go out are not customizable. And I know I get that question a lot. This is actually embedded in our operating system and as a part of our AI scheduling tool. So should you guys have some interest in adopting TheraDriver's AI solution for scheduling, you get messaging automatically included with it. Now, what does it look like? How does it come through? Do people need to log into a portal to gain access to this message? Who here uses Open Table? Who here goes online and books their hair appointments, right? Or their nail appointments? We all do it. We're very self-serve orientated in our nation nowadays. Just like that experience of Eilish and I wanting to try a new restaurant, and we go on Open Table and we're like, hey, we're interested. You might get a message, hey, we've had a cancellation. Are you guys still interested in dining with us today? And you click the hyperlink and reply yes, then you get your table. It is that same experience with TheraDriver. They do not need to log into an app. They do not need to log into a separate system. Everything is automated through text message, and the hyperlink is there, and it is HIPAA compliant messaging. So I love this choose your own journey experience, and people decide sometimes not to toggle on client notifications or to toggle them on, but it's really nice to have that flexibility within the solution and have those safeguards so you're not playing the phone game. Another thing I really love to talk about when highlighting the TheraDriver solution is our FSO feature. Full staff optimization. This is a really big value proposition for those larger multi-location providers where they can come in here and say, do they want to run a full schedule optimization for a single day or a reoccurring seasonal change? In ABA, I feel like we get summer schedules done and then we're back into fall before we know it. So reoccurring optimizations are very common. A lot of providers will build out their schedules weekly on Mondays or every month. So this is how they would be able to come into the solution and build out those reoccurring optimizations. We have a few different algorithms within the tool, one of which is like normal one-to-one staffing, block scheduling, very common in ABA. But we also have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday split. I personally love that for home-based services for generalization of skill sets and learning how to work with different technicians in the space. And then we also have the diverse staff allocation. So for those individuals who are providing services in homes, in schools, in centers, you might want to go ahead and toggle on that algorithm. So we can go ahead and say, we're going to do a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday symmetric algorithm. Now, do we want to optimize our entire roster, or do we want to optimize a smaller sample of our group? So we could go ahead and build this out by BCBA caseloads, BCBA teams, regional teams. You can see here we've also got like the coverage pod that we can fully optimize, individuals that go into specific schools like the Franklin Elementary School pod, etc. And then I always recommend running FSO on a Monday. The reason being is that we pull that authorization of desired hours per week from that kiddo's profile. And we really want to make sure that if they want 30 hours a week, we're getting the full 30 hours from Monday to Friday. So we can also set durations of minimum session length and maximum session length. If you guys are a big fan of block scheduling, you could come in here and set that at 2 minimum, 4 maximum. Do you want to offer breaks? And do you want those breaks to be set in a certain time and make them mandatory? Break scheduling was a conundrum in my life in an ABA to take that brain muscle out of it and be able to say, listen, I just want to make sure everybody eats. And I want to make sure that they do it at a good time because nobody wants the 2 p.m. lunch break, especially not me. Then also you want to go ahead and restrict client gaps. This is very common for center-based providers. We don't want Timmy in the motor room by himself unattended in the swing. So we can go ahead and restrict those client gaps and set them down to 0 minutes. And then I love this toggle that we have. So it's restrict staff desired hours. So if you have part-time workforce that's only available specific days of the week, and then they might be taking night classes or have other part-time jobs, you definitely want to toggle this on because we want to make sure that we're not giving them a session when they're in night class on Tuesdays. So we're going to go ahead and say, hey, we want to restrict that to desired hours. And then we have this cool advanced option feature. I like to use an example of kiddos just got started. He's got a 40-hour week schedule. Eilish just built it out. Don't touch it. So we can go ahead and come in here and toggle off some of these individuals and say, nope, we just built that schedule. We don't want to optimize it. And we can unselect individuals from the client list. Same thing goes with staff. BF Skinner might still be in training and overlapping. Same thing with Bob Marley. So we could go ahead and turn them off. And then, of course, for those part-time team members, we can go ahead and turn off that mandated break work requirement as well. So really great way to just be able to say, okay, put everybody together and let's shuffle to see our optimized outputs. And what the solution will show you is what you were billing as your treatment hours the week prior and how much it has increased after running our FSO feature. We've got some really great statistics and we're building out a beautiful case study right now. Some of our providers have seen as high as a 15% prescription fulfillment increase just after 8 weeks of adoption. I like to say at this point that TheraDriver is one of the only tech stacks in the ABA space that pays for itself by moving the needle on those bottom dollars. And that was really nicely introduced by Derek at the forefront of the call. So thank you, Derek. Going back to our appointment overview tab and looking at our supervision, I really want to show the inverse of the staff schedule and their PTO blocks that can be added. So if there is a new appointment and we need to create an event, hypothetically a bulk cancellation, we can come in here and say, hypothetically, let's just say this is Memorial Day or upcoming Labor Day, right? Labor Day is coming up soon. And we can say that the clinic is closed on Friday, the 25th. We can go ahead and say it's a holiday and we can click this button and all of the appointments for that facility will be canceled and the notifications will be automated and everybody will be let know, not only on the staff side, but on the client side as well. I never had a way to bulk cancel a center, so I really love to call that out. Another thing you can see here is Bob Marley is out on PTO, right? So hypothetically, we can see Daniel Lewis has quite a few appointments this day. If we wanted to cancel and say the staff is canceling, we could cancel one appointment, or we could come into the appointment and say, look, he's out. He's not going to be available and we're canceling his entire day. And we could click save and it will then cancel all of those appointments on that given day instead of going into every single appointment and canceling them and then creating that reason code. It will generalize that reason code across all three of those appointments, whether it's unable to travel, feeling sick, or PTO request. I love to see if there's any questions in the chat, but I know I have my TheraDriver gurus here with me, so I feel we're good in that space. But feel free to ask any questions at any point in time. I love an open dialogue, and I know this is a fairly new concept to a lot of us, especially with the technological advancements in our space within the last year. Another thing I really love to call out is the fact that as a scheduler, as an end user of this experience, how would I use it? I'd go in 6 a.m., log into my appointment overview. I'd scroll down to the bottom where I have almost like a kiosk of all of the daily call outs and those last minute things we need to pay attention to. So we can see Billie Eilish and Bob Marley are canceled. It was advance notice. And the system is either prompting me to swap the technician or request coverage for that. So if I wanted to work through my task list, I could open up Billie Eilish, see that the date of the session is the 16th today, and we're looking for coverage between 2 to 5 p.m. We have a hard constraint of needing to speak English, and we have some good, better, best notations here. We can see quite a few options of availability, but what I really love is the inverse of the utilization. This utilization tracks how many desired hours that registered behavior technician is requesting from your organization. And you can see how many hours they have for the week. So what I really like to see is that Princess Peach has the lowest amount of scheduled hours this week. She is available for a swap, but look at this nice little icon that pulls. They have worked together before. This is really important, especially for home-based coverage. I know a lot of times home-based providers do not encourage coverage for canceled sessions, but the more you can see who has actually worked with your child and been in your home, the more you'll see that changing behavior for parents. So we could go ahead and do 2 workflows here. One, Princess Peach needs hours and she's only 20% utilized. I could just swap her. I could look at her soft constraints where we can see that she speaks English, she works in the home, she works in the clinic, or I could go ahead and toggle on a few different people and I could send the request out. Almost think of it like a broadcasting opportunity. This is really great for those people who are always raising their hand and available to step in and coverage and support because they want their consistent hours. So we can work through this list in a few different ways. One, we can just come through and swap our technicians, pick somebody that has the availability, add that new appointment, and automate the communication of the changes. So right here, Princess Peach again, Chili Healer, I can swap successful, everybody gets notified, and it removes itself from the kiosk. So 6 a.m., I'm a scheduler. I scroll down here. I start looking at my staff cancellations and I look at my client cancellations. In TheraDriver, just like we're prompted to swap a technician when canceling, we're also prompting parents to make up a session. So you can see that mom has canceled a couple different sessions and she's requesting makeups with different individuals at different times. So we can come in here and look at the makeup. We can set a date, set the time, pulls the client automatically, and then we can start looking at assigning staff and look at staff that are available. And we can also toggle on and say, look, I just want to see people who are available during that time. So I like to tell people that when you put something into TheraDriver, you get something out. And it's one of the only solutions I've seen that in. So whether you're canceling an appointment, getting the reason codes of Michael Jordan's canceled 5 times this month, do you want to fire off this text message, or mom requesting to cancel and being prompted to do a makeup, when you put something in, you get valuable information out. Now, you'll see that we've got some requests put in, we've got some makeups. Where do they go? So we've done our kiosk of daily callouts. We've lived and survived to tell another tale of the 6 a.m. chaos that can happen. And now we're starting to look at our request hub. Well, this is where people can advocate and raise their hand and say, hey, I'd like more hours. Or, hey, I'm interested in taking that makeup session that you broadcasted. And you can see here that we've got some home sessions, some in-office sessions, all of which are makeups. Some have responses where people have requested and expressed interest. And then we have some where there is responses. So Bob Marley has expressed interest with Billie Eilish on this session time. He wants that. And we can go ahead and say, yep, he's worked with that individual before, and we could accept that coverage scenario. Request has been closed. Automated communication has went out. Calendar appointment has been created in TheraDriver and pushed to your practice management software, all with a click of a button. So there are a lot of clicks that go into these tedious processes that I think, unfortunately, administratively, we don't really have the time to do within our day. So just being able to see it at a glance, click, accept, and know that it's been created, pushed to our PM, and everybody's been notified of that change is a really nice call out. So now that we've got ahead of those proactive advance notice requests, what I really like to say is now you're doing a job of a scheduler, optimizing that prescription fulfillment. In our clients and staff tabs, you can see your clients on the left-hand side going down with these really nice automated statuses. You can see their progress through their authorization, the hours that are weekly off hours versus scheduled hours, which is two different KPIs. I know we know that here on this call, but I love that you get both at a glance. And then you can also see what's unbooked, what's just low-hanging fruit that your scheduler can optimize within your solution. So we can scroll down and see, wow, TheraDriver has quite a few unbooked hours that we could fully optimize within our schedule. And I also like to call out, you'll notice that there's some pending schedule notifications. A lot of the times we think it's a really great idea. We build this beautiful schedule and then we have to wait for confirmation. If we scroll down, you'll notice that some of the names are yellow versus blue. Bandit has not confirmed his schedule yet. So this is a great way to call to action to your scheduler. Hey, let's call these people today. Bandit, Jerry, and Princess Peach all have pending schedules that we need to confirm. We can also come in here and filter by status. So I really love this capability to be able to say, hey, we need to assign a technician. We need to hire a technician. We're looking for kiddos that need to be restaffed and have been requested for restaff. So let's take Ariel, good kid, for an example here. We can see that he's got his technician list, his hard constraints and his soft constraints. Again, if it becomes a hard constraint, it's very easy to ebb and flow this. So summer break, Neuqua Valley School is where the services might be taking place, and we need people to have that background check. We can easily move that over to a hard constraint. And when he goes back to in-center or in-home services, we can move that back to a soft constraint. If we click the down caret, I don't know that it's really called a caret, but I've always called it a caret. We can also at a glance see his contact information and the guardian's name, email, and phone number. Again, making the scheduler's life easier. We can come in to edit that schedule. And then we can see that we've got this really nice block schedule that we started to build. But as we noticed on the client profile, he was requested for restaff. The information you gotta put into TheraDriver's operating system is obviously contact information. In order for the automated notifications to work, we have to have a phone number and email in here. And you really got to fill out this direct therapy hours per week. And the reason that's important is for full staff optimization. If we don't know the desired hours per week, then we really have no northern star of prescription fulfillment. The EHR ID is how it syncs to your Rethink, Central Reach, or Aloha instance. And we can see the address of the place of where the services are happening, the authorization breakdown and the various codes. We can also see the pods that he's associated with, like peanut allergy, Neuqua Valley School, early intervention team. And we can see that availability for services as well. So mom was very open with her schedule and said she was available anytime 8 to 5. If you're an in-clinic operator, you can click this little box and it will automatically default to your center hours. Once we've got this filled in, we go to the match technician page. And for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and unselect my people that I've already built the schedule with because we no longer need it. We're restaffing this team based on the clinical notes that we have. We can come up here and look at adjusted availability. What that's doing is saying, I want overlapping availability. I need to schedule 20 hours, but mom graciously gave us 45 hours of availability. We can come in here and look for technicians only, right? We don't want to build a reoccurring schedule with a BCBA doing direct treatment every week. We want them to be able to be flexible. We can set a max distance. We can set availability preferences. Okay, I don't want home-based sessions to be shorter than 2 hours. I can filter that out. I can filter language and say, okay, we need technicians that speak English. I can filter gender and say, do I want male or female? And then do they need to be an RBT or have CPR certification, etc. And then what I really like is all of those icons of individuals who have worked with him before pull through. You can see the drive time and the mileage distance at a really nice glance. And you'll notice that some of the cars are gray and some of the cars are green. If the car is gray, that is the first appointment for that therapist of that day, meaning you don't need to drive time into the schedule. When it is a green car, it means that the last appointment was somewhere else and that they will need to get there. And so we would need to include that into the schedule. It's very easy to come in and select a schedule. We can click into Paul Bunyan. We can click into Wendy Darling. We can add her drive time, her schedule. And now we can see right here, I love how it adds up the time as we're clicking appointments. We can see that it's been mapped to drive. So your non-billable and billable codes will map to your PM instance. So do not fret if you have a lot of diverse coding. It's okay. We work with enterprise size providers serving multiple states across the nation where the codes are all different. So we're very familiar with the complexity there. And our non-billable codes as well, like early departures, late pickups, meetings, PTO, etc. And those all map. I really love using the example of embedding a nap schedule into a kiddo's actual reoccurring schedule. I had a lot of pediatric clients in the past that we couldn't bill for nap time. So again, it's a very nice ease of use. You can also see that at a glance, there's this active or pending status. So again, if we haven't confirmed this schedule with them, we could go ahead and switch it to pending or active and accept it. So once we get that all set, we build out this nice schedule. The thing is, you're no longer scheduling in the heat of scheduling needs. You could set this out for come August 10th, 2025, and this schedule will start to be built and everybody will get notified in advance. Really great features there. What I like to show on the inverse is this idea of fetching new opportunities. So let's look at somebody who's got a fairly low utilization right here. Donald Duck is a low utilization. He's only 30% utilized. We can come in here and start looking for new opportunities. So if I switch over to the new opportunities tab, the system will start pulling in other available clients so that you can start looking ahead and say, wow, we've really got some great kiddos coming on board. Let's see who we can add to bill out Elmer Fudd's schedule to get that full utilization. Ultimately, end goal there is increasing retention of your staff and increasing their satisfaction. Again, on the staff profile, I just like to call out, what do we need to put in here? And luckily we have amazing team members like Keenan and Eilish that would help you set up your environment and your instance. So we get you set up, but say you get a new hire and you're like, what do I need to put into that individual's profile? Name, last name, email, phone number, make sure to capture that EHR ID. And then really the most important part is how many hours are they trying to work a week and what is their availability? Right here. And again, we can default that to clinic hours. Now, we probably have a lot of behavior analysts on the call, so we love data. Give me the data. Where's the data? So within TheraDriver, you're also getting really great location analytics. And you can see up here, we have a couple different location drop downs. So you can look at the organization as a whole, encompassing all of your locations, or deviate and look at specific sites and really use that to cross-reference and train across locations. So again, I really love the analytics on this, and I love the fact that at the top of the screen, you're seeing this idea of resolved hours. I hope you guys all remember, because it was really important when I said it at the forefront of the call. We want to imagine a world where we never cancel on a kiddo. So this idea of canceled hours versus resolved hours is one of the value propositions of TheraDriver. So all of these advanced notifications and cancellations have been swapped. So our scheduler's doing a really great job. Only one of them had to be canceled and we could not find coverage. Data that you get within the solution is canceled versus scheduled percentages, plan versus prescription fulfillment, which are two different KPIs, as I mentioned earlier. You can see cancellation hours, paid time off. You can include your resolve percentages as well. Really love that toggle feature. Time to staff was probably one of the biggest value propositions that I've seen, because I never really knew how long it was taking me to staff in North Carolina versus Metroland Chicago. And let me tell you, it was different at both places. So being able to filter that out by that location is very helpful. For space providers, you're billable versus non-billable. It's very important to keep a clean and tidy facility, but if 50% of our scheduled hours are non-billable, we might want to relook at that, because we don't need somebody in the toy closet all day every week. My favorite summary table is this one down here. I love this at a glance. You can come in and say, I want to look at just 1 week. I want to look at our client statuses. What's their off? What was scheduled? How many did they get? Not just what was scheduled. What was their billable hours? How many were canceled? Are there gaps? Who's late? Who's picking up late? And then the same thing with that custom statuses and being able to report on the change in those statuses. But again, your BCBA statistics, this is a very powerful tool for clinical directors. Are they hitting their KPIs? Right? Are they hitting that billable number, which is like really important, but are they diversifying their appointments from supervision to parent training to group therapy to group parent training even? And then at the very end, if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's very important to ensure that we are tracking the number of messages that we're sending out. And then I love this idea of a leaderboard, like who's always covering, who's never canceling, which parents are really committed to your treatment program and the fidelity of it. You get that at a really nice glance as well. Like I said, I really just want to recap and TheraDriver is an operating system that helps with the pain points of administrative burdens like scheduling and seasonality and navigating those multi-swap cancellations and callouts. The three main metrics that we move the needle on is prescription fulfillment, increased utilization of your staff, and then decreased cancellations. Ideally, it's a system that pays for itself, and we want to ensure to empower providers in the space to know what new technology is on the market powered by AI. I hope you guys found this beneficial, but happy to open it up for questions. Derek, I saw you come off mute there. Happy to cater this to anybody before I stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great. And everybody, we're going to have this recording up here in a couple of days. We're going to bump this to the front of the queue so you guys that are on this call can go back and watch the recording. A lot of information in here. If you have any questions, make sure you post them in the chat. We got a couple here. So one of the first questions, let's see. When scheduling, is TheraDriver, or when scheduling, is TheraDriver accounting for multiple payer requirements a staff needs to be scheduled for any code? So does it have payer management and credentialing involved in the scheduling?
Yes, it does. And it also, you could sit there and come over to your pod. So right here, we could set a pod up and we could say, I'm thinking of TRICARE comes to mind right away. You could have a TRICARE pod and then pull all of your RBTs into that pod, make it a hard constraint. And then your scheduler knows, hey, I can only staff this bucket of people with that kid because of those payer requirements. Yes. Great question.
So from an investment standpoint, this is one of my questions. So if we just wanted to do the scheduling, like this is amazing for just taking all this weight off your business. And you touched on some of these areas already, but making the best use of your supply. We're in a supply constrained market. We don't have to worry about demand in most areas. Our biggest issue is supply. So this is the kind of thing that gives you leverage to squeeze as much as you can out of your supply while also driving up your team satisfaction, your employee satisfaction. So there are very few opportunities in this business to do that, right? You come and say, oh, your minimum billable hours are going up. We're going to require more of you. That's a stress adder, right? This is a way to increase your productivity and reduce stress. So that's the unicorn kind of solution here, right? So it takes a lot to develop that. This is not something I'm always encouraging people, build the automations in your Microsoft 365, build your workflows. This is not something that's going to be worth your time to build there. So tell us what it costs for us to have this in our company. Is it based on users? Is it based on learners? How is the pricing structured?
So that's a really great question. Thanks so much, Derek. So on this staff tab, you can see technicians, admins, BCBAs, etc. If the individual is on this staff tab, we are a standard site SaaS pricing model. So we charge per staff being scheduled in the solution. There is no cost for clients. So you could add as many clients as you'd like.
All right. And what is the range of cost per staff?
So it depends on your integration to your EHR. There are varying costs based on which EHR you're integrating with, or if you want to integrate with your EHR. We actually have a lot of providers that don't integrate with their EHR because they were already building schedules on spreadsheets and then copying them into their EHR. My CEO, Mal Sridhar, she always jokes around that our number one competitor is Google Spreadsheets.
Yes.
Which I thought was funny initially until I realized how many people are scheduling on spreadsheets. And then I realized, wow, it is really our number one competitor. So the price does vary based on the integration, but we do have really great partnerships with companies like Aloha, where we collaborate with them on that integration, and we have that bi-directional syncing. So for Rethink at Aloha and Luminaries of the world, we have bi-directional syncs where we can pull. I think of an example of you have a new pod that onboarded, new hire pod, new client pod. We can extract that data from their EHR and then add them into here. Whereas with Central Reach, we have a one directional push. So you would still need to add your clients into here and your new staff into TheraDriver's operating system so that you could push that out to your EHR. Our costs are anywhere from like $12 to $15 per staff. And we really like to work with the providers based on how many locations they have to try to get that down to a very cost-effective price point. But ultimately, what's been the greatest part is the system pays for itself within the first 90 days. So
I think of being pretty conservative with the 90 days thing. I think this is like one of those things, like as long like as you get in, you set it up, you focus on execution and getting this integrated, getting your team trained on it and how to use it. The quicker you do that, I think the ROI is going to become a lot sooner than 90 days. That's just me talking. But
yeah, you're actually right, Derek. We just had one of our enterprise providers increase by 15% in 8 weeks. So yes, I was being conservative with 90 days, but I feel like that's a number people always throw out is like, how will I feel in 90 days? And they're going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, and at $12 to $15 a user, you know that you're in a good position as a company if your product and the pricing is so good, it's crazy not to do it. And that's the situation here. The next question was, can staff and client availability be date specific? I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to, but yeah, I think it is.
I believe it can be date specific, especially if somebody's going to be out of town for an entire week. Think of Michael Jordan in my example earlier. He was out of town for an entire week. So you can cancel that availability for that entire week and be that he is not available.
All right.
I hope that answers the question. If it
Yeah, I think so.
doesn't, that person might have popped off the call. Happy to answer it.
All right. The next one was the AI scheduler recommender component. How does the AI make recommendations for the schedule? How does that integrate?
Yeah, so it overlays the authorization of that kiddo, the availability of that kiddo, the availability of that staff, and then the location of all of the service places, right? Are they coming from home? Are they coming from another client's house? And then it outputs that fully staff optimized solution. But those are the key components that are going into the AI to make those scheduling recommendations. We used to call it window time. Nobody gets paid for window time. It just meaning they're staring at their window of their car. So that's the real great part about AI is I've had multiple Google Maps, or I've got little pins all over it. Who can come from here to here? Really being able to find that quickest way to the last endpoint is where AI comes into place.
Really awesome platform. And we've known you guys for a while. You guys just keep adding to it and building on it. And your price hasn't really increased much that I know of. You guys are sticking right in there, just constantly improving your products. It's already awesome. And I'm sure it's only going to get better. So if anyone wants to get a hold of Crystal, we're going to put her email it's in the chat here. We're also going to put it in the video description. It's Crystal with a C, CRYSTAL at TheraDriver.com. That's THERA driver.com. Thank you once again. Great product. If you haven't looked at TheraDriver in the last few months, come back and take a look at TheraDriver because they just keep getting better. Thank you, Crystal.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for having me, Josh. Bye, guys.
We'll see everybody.
You're already doing the work, investing your time, your energy, and your vision. So let's make it count. Build something that works without breaking you. The EBCBA Blueprint is the way. Get started for free with our foundation course.